Hello, how are you all doing? And here we are making our the video for practice number 3. This practice we are calling it I Am Dad. And the title of this practice, or the title of the day, is Developing Our Ability to Stay Connected, with only one word: compassion. So, this whole practice is about developing our compassion. Let's start by reading a quote. How will your life be different if you stop making negative judgmental assumptions about people you encounter? Let today be the day you look for the good in everyone you meet and respect their journey. Steve Maraboli. How beautiful is that, huh? The goal of this practice, well, is to feel more connected to life around you. Now, how do we do that? Let's begin by sharing the 3 tools we have for practicing compassion. The first tool, it's actually compassion itself, but with a little change, with a little tweak, and is self-compassion. You might think, well, it's the same thing, self-compassion and compassion. We'll go deep into that later, and you'll find out that there is a slight difference in practicing compassion, generally speaking, and practicing self-compassion. The second one is to do something for someone else. And the third practice or tool is, I hope you take a smile in your face when you hear this, hugs. To give hugs to anything that's alive. Yes, you heard me right. Hugs, hugging, squeezing. Okay, we already show you the 3 tools or the 3 practices that we want you to engage with. Are those 3 that I just mentioned? And now let's elaborate a little bit on all of them and how to practice them. So, to begin with, compassion, self-compassion already. Let's just take a few moments to go into the actual concept of compassion. What is compassion? What is self-compassion? Um, Again, you already think or yeah think that the concept of compassion is clear in your mind, is clear in your head. You heard this so many times. It's one of those concepts that we heard over and over and over. They are there, very present in our daily lives, if you want to say. Um, but yet, when somebody asks you directly, what is compassion? Most of people have a little struggle to actually describe, define compassion to a great extent. We often will just refer as, oh yes, feeling what other people feel. And yeah, that's pretty accurate. But that's just a cold concept. How can I actually engage and connect with this concept? How can I bring it to life? And that's what we're looking for. Again, as many other concepts that we already think we have clear in our heads, I invite you to just take the solo definition of compassion and just experience the concept. Don't try to just understand it with your head. Again, yes, compassion is this ability to connect with what other people feel. But do we do that in daily basis? Do we actually connect? not just with other people, with our own. And this is where self compassion comes in. In yoga, yogis have a concept which is called ahimsa. And ahimsa means non violence. And non violence for them is a practice that goes hand to hand with self compassion. In order to understand this ahimsa or non-violence, they begin or they recommend you to begin the practice by practicing self compassion. But what does it mean, self compassion? To feel my own pain? Well, I already feel my own pain. That's kind of redundant. Well, actually, if we include ahimsa and we begin to use this non-violence towards ourselves, we begin to see that actually, no, we're not so compassionate towards ourselves. And as some people like to say, how can you give something that you don't have? How can you share something you don't have? So you have to have it at some point, even if it's not permanently yours, you have to have it at some point in order to share it. So we have to develop and allow this self-compassion and nonviolence to grow in ourselves so we can share it, even if it's just for a little time. You have to have it at least for a second in your hands so you can share it or give it to others. And this is why this self-compassion, non-violence towards ourselves, is the basis, is the grounding, according to the yogis, to develop or to experience this full concept of compassion. The Dalai Lama said, love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. And as you keep just reading and researching, this concept of compassion keeps showing up in all spiritual and religious practices, regardless of their background and regardless of what our personal opinion is or can be of all of these spiritual and religious practices. Compassion is there, is very well grounded in their basis. That practitioners don't actually practice it, I mean the religious or spiritual practitioners, that's a different story. So, going back to this non-violence, this ahimsa, how can I practice it? How can I practice, again, self-compassion and non-violence? Before we go into a very specific way of practicing, we need to understand what does it mean. Being non-violent doesn't necessarily mean to never cause harm to other beings. Conscious and great effort to not cause harm to other beings, but I am constantly causing harm to myself. And this is something that happens very often. This is something that happens more often than you might think. It happens very, very often. Why? Because we are very aware of the externalization of our feelings. Means I am aware that, okay, I don't want to say mean things to this person or to this other, or I don't want to do this that's going to cause harm to other beings, and I don't do it. But in the process, I might be causing that harm to myself with something as simple as my thoughts. So, how do I practice nonviolence? Well, the way that yoga or the yogis recommend is begin by being nonviolent from within with your thoughts. Take a look at yourself and see how often you say things as, I'm not good enough, I can't do that, I'm not skilled enough, I'm not worthy of that, or any other example similar to that. Some people do it more often than others, of course. If you're in the group that do it more often than, and how do I know I do it too often? Because I'm bringing down myself. Because I'm feeling I'm not good enough for stuff. As soon as I get into something, no, that's not for me. I'm not that well prepared, or whatever the excuse is, the reason is. In that moment, you realize you're not practicing self compassion, you're not practicing nonviolence. And the best way to ensure that when I go out to interact with the world, that I am practicing compassion, that I am practicing nonviolence, is to begin the practice with me, to constantly, every second, every minute, every hour, every day, I am aware that I am not constantly reinforcing all of these habits in myself. Why? Because then when I go out, of course, it's going to be much harder. If I'm used to say certain things to myself over and over and over, it becomes easy to say it out loud to other people. Not saying this is the case in every person and all the time, of course not. Like I mentioned at first, some people are very good at not harming others, but they completely destroy themselves. And other people do the other way around, and other people are 50-50. That's not the point. The point is find out where are you at? Which of these groups you belong to? Become aware of I am in this group, and just bring balance to your life. Now, again, how to practice nonviolence, how to practice self compassion. Well, as you wake up, you begin aware of your thoughts. As your day goes by, am I constantly bringing me down? When I'm talking, do I talk to myself? Some people just think it, other people say it. When somebody say, hey, you think you can do this? I say, no, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. And I'm exaggerating that I'm not good enough. Sometimes we're very subtle, and we shut down ourselves in a very, very subtle way. So we don't even notice we're doing it. So some people are very direct, obvious, and you can see it right there. Other people are very, very gentle and subtle in the way they're doing this to themselves. So in order to get to realize where are we need to go back to the practices we've been practicing in previous days, and contemplate and look at ourselves and see things as they are, and eventually will accepting or realizing, yes, this is where I am. One way of beginning to develop self-compassion, compassion, to practice non-violence, ahimsa, as we just said, is what I just mentioned. Also, we want to replace, or same somehow, these negative thoughts or words and patterns that we unconsciously develop in our lives. So as I say, okay, I'm not going to uh, tell to myself that I'm not good enough, or so on and so on. But what do I do instead? Well, one of the things you can do instead is to realize the blessings in your life, to be thankful for the most simple and mundane things in your life. This is going maybe to the opposite side of the practices that we're doing, but they are on the opposite side because they are bringing balance. Remember, opposites balance each other or counter each other. So when I go to the opposite side and I say, okay, as I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is be thankful. For what? Why am I going to be thankful? For the simple fact you woke up. Just remember, life is a gift, and we don't have a contract. It's not granted. We say I will wake up every day. That's not how it works. Tomorrow you could simply not wake up. So why not acknowledging this and being thankful for the fact that you woke up today? Life or God or however you want to call it doesn't owe you anything. So Yeah, you could say, well, yeah, I'm alive, but life all made that. No, you're just here for the grace of whatever, life, God. Just be humble, and as you wake up, be thankful for that first breath. Be thankful that your lungs work on their own. Take a deep breath. Be thankful for the roof that allows you to stay safe. I could keep going and going and going, mentioning gifts and blessings that most of us, at least the ones listening to this video, have. And some people say, "Oh yeah, but it's just food, and it's just a roof, and it's not such a nice roof or shelter house. I mean, that I have. It doesn't matter. Think as if you didn't have it. What if you didn't have it? What if you needed a machine to breathe? What if you needed, what if you lived under a bridge? What if all of these things? And you don't do this to say, oh well, I have so much, but not really because I want more. I want more comes from all of your expectations, which we said they're not bad. You can have the feeling, the desire to want more of what you have. That is perfectly fine. Go on, achieve more, but don't get caught in that, oh, if I achieve more, then more happiness is going to come in my life. I'm going to feel more content and more fulfilled. That is not how it works. And you can do your own research on that. You don't have to believe me. That is not how it works. The more detached I am from what I have, if I continue working and I continue doing what I'm supposed to do, things will come. All of the things that you wish and desire will come. Only if you wish and desire from a space of honesty, from a space of love, from a space of fulfillment. If you're wishing and desiring from a space of emptiness, a space of feeling less and feeling that you deserve more, um, that's a space of struggle. You might still get to accomplish things, but that's not going to make you feel fulfilled and content. So, again, how do we develop this ability to really, truly be thankful for that breath? Acknowledge the breath. How do I become thankful for the roof? Acknowledge the roof and acknowledge how much contentment it brings into your life. Contentment that, of course, we cannot see, fulfillment that, of course, we cannot perceive because we're too busy wanting more. We're too busy thinking in what we don't have. So, again, as you wake up, you have a whole day to acknowledge and be thankful. Now, this is interesting. We don't have to just acknowledge and be thankful for the good things. We talked about it before in the last video. Good things, bad things. I'm not going to go deep into that again because we already talked about it. Good and bad are just concepts in the mind. So when I'm living my life, my day, and something bad happens in my life, and I mean bad, well, that I didn't like it, I didn't enjoy it, of course the reaction is, how can I be thankful for that? Who wants to be thankful for something non-pleasant, for something painful, for suffering? I don't want you to be thankful for the suffering itself. I want you to be thankful because in the suffering there was a gift. There was a present from life to you. A present, a gift that is helping you to evolve, to grow. So in every single thing that happens in your life, there is an opportunity to grow. All of these challenges that life put in front of us, they're nothing but that. And they are full of joy. They are full of peace. They are full of love. Can you see it? It is all covered. There is a dust. It's like a cloud in front of you, and that cloud is the expectations of wanting something else. As soon as you let that go, you will see it right there. All of the peace and joy that all of this painful and uncomfortable and non-wanted things that life brings us is carrying with. So going back to, again, non-violence, and I want to remark and repeat this. We need the tools from days before to develop this ability. We need to be conscious and present because there are patterns, there are habits that we develop, and we become slaves of those habits. And unconsciously, you are just repeating them over and over. So, as I said, oh, I'm not good enough. And maybe I don't say to myself in my mind or even with words, I'm not good enough. But I act that way. I act as if I'm not good enough, as if I don't deserve. Like I said, it can be very subtle. Well, the more subtle your way of expressing that, well, the more sharp you will have to be to acknowledge it, to become aware of it. Be patient again. If you still notice, oh, I just feel the struggle, but I don't see myself saying any of these things. Just keep paying attention. Keep paying attention. Be patient. You're driving and somebody cut you off and you almost have an accident. No reason to get mad. No reason to judge the other person. Develop your ability of feeling empathy. Meaning what? Okay, you're in a rush. Maybe they need to get to the hospital because a relative just had an accident. Or maybe they're just too much in a rush. They're so out of themselves. They're so unaware. And they don't even know why they're in a rush. But they're in a rush. Either way, just feel empathy and say, yeah, you're in a very uncomfortable space. Fine, go on. Feel compassion means, whoa, yeah, I would like to help you. I wish at some point you realize that that is not bringing anything beneficial to your life. And then you just move on. I'm giving you some extra material attached to this video that is hopefully going to help you to get deeper and from other to hear from other people what all of these practices that are all related to compassion are about. Now let's move on with the second recommended practice or tool, and this is do something for someone else. Okay, again, this is just something that is how is this going to change my life? Okay, let's see. At least once a day, do something to genuinely serve another being. Now, pay attention. I said another being means anything that's alive. Either is a person, either is an animal or a tree or earth itself. Do something for someone else. Do something out of expecting nothing. Genuinely expecting nothing. It doesn't have to be something so big that changed the world, that make it spin the other way around. No. It can be simple. Begin with something. 1% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So do something. Either you just grab an extra sandwich before you leave the restaurant or house, your home, I don't know, and just give it to a homeless person, or something 100 times better according to our standards or expectations. It doesn't matter what. Do something at least once a day for someone else, another living being. There are hundreds of things. Get creative and genuinely dedicate. If it's 5 seconds, 5 minutes, or 50 minutes, it is not important. What's important is that you are genuinely serving, that is truly coming from your heart. The size of the action is not important. Today, you might serve a little tree or a little dog or a little caterpillar, and tomorrow you might serve the whole humanity. That's not important. And I tell you why. Because when I start thinking how important it is, that's my ego, that's my expectation, that's wanting something in return. Because in the eye of life, God, or however you want to call it, a selfless action, all of them, any selfless action, all of them have the same value. So go out there and do something for someone else, for another living being. And finally, the practice, the recommended practice number 3, I already mentioned it at the beginning of the video, is to hug, give hugs. Same as with the previous one, to anything that's alive. So I want you to give at least one hug a day to anyone, a random stranger, an animal, a tree. Again, it doesn't matter. Now, we have to use the same word than before. Give an honest, a genuine hug. And here I think you know what I'm talking about. How many hugs, how many smiles we give in a day that are not genuine, that are not honest, that are not coming from that space. You know, and it just feels empty. So maybe with people it comes a little, maybe you're not ready for just hugging a random stranger. Well, go hug a tree. Tree's not gonna say anything back. Tree's just gonna stay there. Can't run away, can't judge you, can't anything. Animals, same story. Now, take your time for this hug. Don't go there and just like a 2 seconds hug. Oh, good day, bye bye. No, 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 no. Either is a people or an animal or a tree. I want you to really feel it. Stay there. The shortest time for these hugs, the minimum time, is a minute. I'm not trying to put time on things. I'm just trying to give you reference. With time, you will develop this ability in which in seconds or fractions of a second of just hugging something or somebody, you will immediately connect with it. You will immediately have this amazing experience. But at the beginning, like with anything else, when we're new at it, when we're learning how to do it, it takes time. So allow yourself to feel it, to get into it. Yeah? Might feel uncomfortable, might feel awkward. Just ignore all of that. It will vanish eventually. So, again, if you have the opportunity to hug a human being, a animal, and also a tree, oh, then go for it. By tree, I don't mean just trees, plants, trees, bushes, whatever it is. It's the same thing. Go for it. The more you do it, the more you practice it, well, the better you're going to become at it, and the easier is going to be the next time you're going to be more connected. Connection to things doesn't mean that I am connected to this person because I'm always with that person. I'm physically with that person all the time, so I'm connected with that person. That's not. Feeling compassion, feeling empathy is feeling the world around you without even have to interact with it. I'm not saying you don't have to interact. At some point, for some people, is strictly necessary to have to interact with it. That's why I'm providing these recommendations, because for some people it's extremely necessary to reconnect. But once you're fully connected, it's like a wireless connection. It's exactly the same definition of a wireless connection. Back in time, we needed these wires to actually provide us whatever the service was. In this case, let's say internet. Now we don't. There is this thing called wireless that sends signals that we can see through the air, and then somehow through the and then somehow we just get it. Well, guess what? That is love, and that's all what's about. Compassion, empathy, non-violence, all of these things are love. Our ability to develop this wireless connection in which we are sending and receiving love. But in order to get there, for some people, for some of us, we need to reconnect. We need to physically connect to it. And eventually, it grows, it expands, and then we have the wireless again. Okay, guys, just to summarize, I want to give you a few other points that I want you to keep in mind as we're already practicing this. Notice how when you're present and observant, you become less reactive. And because of that, you will jump less into quick conclusions, less often and less automatic. That by itself will open some extra space for empathy and compassion. Something else is realize that you're still dealing with conditioned behaviors that will slowly vanish on their own as you reinforce new ones. Again, being tolerant and compassionate and patient towards ourselves. Also, realize how when you are not so busy over judging everything that's happening, some sort of magic happens. We begin to feel others as if it's us. Again, this compassion, empathy thing begins to happen. Reminding that compassion and empathy are two separate things but are interrelated. Also, and you will hear these from the resources, the extra information I'm sharing with you, make an effort or put your intention in connecting with things around you from your heart. And something that's going to help you to get to connect with things from your heart is to let go of excessive judgment and to be present. So, of course, we need to use our brain, and our brain is in constant interaction with everything around us, but so is our heart. So, allow your heart to also experience things. And something that happens with our hearts that is another tool we have to connect with everything around us, a very important one. That's always interacting, as is our brain. But we rely too much consciously in our brain, and we think that everything that's happening around us can only be interpreted by our brains. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. So allow to feel things from your physical heart, from the center of your chest. When something happens, don't just react quickly. Allow your heart to experience it. Allow this so-called sixth sense to jump in and see what does it have to say. This is not all mambo jumbo and trying to go off the subject. The sixth sense thing, it's a very real thing, and your brain and your heart are in constant interaction with it. But that's another subject. So just allow your heart to be a conscious part of your life. To summarize again, let's practice self-compassion. Let's practice non-violence. Let's do something for someone else. Anything that's alive. And hugs. Giving hugs again to people or anything that's alive. Again, as you wake up, remind to yourself that you will consciously be kind to yourself, be non-violent towards yourself. Remind to yourself the blessings, the gifts in your life. Also remember, everyone is fighting their own battles and demons. So just be kind and don't take things as they're all meant to you, they're personal. Everyone have their own battle. Finally, avoid to react. Always take a moment to connect and then act. Don't react. With this, we finish, and I'll see you in the